Hey there, let's face it. Economics can be a bit of a downer. Supply, demand, interest rates, who needs all that jargon, right? But what if I told you that the history of money is full of wild stories, like wilder than a barrel of monkeys on Wall Street kind of wild? Today we uncover the top 5 strangest economic events in history, so buckle up, grab your thinking caps, and let's dive into the weird, wacky, and totally true world of economic history. Our first stop takes us back to 18th century England, a time of powdered wigs and economic bubbles. Enter the South Sea Company, a British firm promising unimaginable riches from trade with South America. They whispered tales of mountains of gold and rivers of silver. Problem was, these promises were about as substantial as a soap bubble on a windy day. The company hadn't actually secured any major trade deals. But who needs facts when you have hype, right? People went bonkers for South Sea Company stock. Everyone from merchants to clergymen, even Isaac Newton himself, poured their life savings into this get-rich-quick scheme. Share prices skyrocketed. Fortunes were made overnight. But, as with all bubbles, what goes up must come crashing down. When investors realized the South Sea Company was about as profitable as a leaky rowboat, panic ensued. The stock market plummeted and fortunes vanished overnight. The British government, desperate to prevent another economic meltdown, passed the Bubble Act of 1720, which, ironically, stifled legitimate business ventures for decades. Fast forward to 1907 and we find ourselves in a financial crisis. Banks are failing and everyday Americans are losing their life savings. Enter J.P. Morgan, the OG financial titan. Morgan, seeing the entire financial system about to collapse, decided to take matters into his own hands. He summoned the nation's leading bankers to his private library. For days, these titans of finance huddled as Morgan orchestrated a massive bailout. He used his personal wealth and influence to prop up failing banks and restore confidence in the market. The Panic of 1907 exposed the fragility of the American financial system. This near-death experience led to the creation of the Federal Reserve in 1913, a central banking system designed to prevent future panics and stabilize the economy. Thanks to J.P. Morgan's intervention, the US got its act together. It's a reminder that sometimes even the most powerful individuals can't single-handedly save the day. Sometimes you need a whole system, and thus the Federal Reserve was born. Let's rewind to 1696, where England faced an economic crisis of a different sort. Forget stock market crashes. This time it was the coins themselves that were the problem. Decades of use had left coins worn down and clipped. Enter Isaac Newton, the genius who not only cracked the code of gravity but also dabbled in economics. He was appointed Master of the Mint, tasked with solving England's coinage conundrum. Newton's solution, a massive recoinage effort. Old worn coins were melted down and reminted into shiny new ones. The recoinage process took time. Meanwhile, people hoarded the new, higher quality coins, fearing the old ones would become worthless. This shortage of circulating currency threw the economy into disarray. Businesses struggled to make payments, trade stalled, and people panicked. It was like the economic equivalent of a massive traffic jam. The Great Recoinage of 1696 showed that even the most well-intentioned economic reforms can have unintended consequences. Timing is everything, especially when you're messing with a nation's money supply. Newton's efforts eventually stabilized the currency, but not without significant short-term pain. It's a reminder that even the smartest solutions can have complex outcomes, and sometimes the cure can be as disruptive as the disease. For centuries, England relied on tally sticks, notched pieces of wood representing value. Think of them as medieval IOUs carved into wood. They recorded debts, taxes, and government expenditures. By the 19th century, tally sticks seemed outdated. In 1826, the government decided to phase them out. They burned the records in the Palace of Westminster. The fire got out of control, destroying the Houses of Parliament. The tally stick fire of 1834 destroyed irreplaceable documents. Sometimes old systems exist for a reason. Our final stop takes us to the newly formed United States amidst the Whiskey Rebellion of 1794. The US government, fresh off a successful revolution and saddled with debt, needed cash. Their solution? Tax whiskey. In the late 18th century, whiskey wasn't just a drink, it was currency, especially on the frontier where farmers distilled their surplus grain into whiskey. So when the government slapped a tax on whiskey, it wasn't just a tax on a drink, it was a tax on the livelihood of these farmers. They'd fought a revolution against unfair taxation, and they weren't about to let it happen again. The Whiskey Rebellion was a full-blown tax revolt, complete with protest and defiance. George Washington led a militia of 13,000 troops to quell the rebellion. The Whiskey Rebellion, while short-lived, had a lasting impact on the young nation. It established the federal government's authority to levy taxes. In the newly formed United States, you might be able to outrun the British, but you can't outrun the taxman. From speculative bubbles to fiery fiascos, the history of economics is anything but boring. These strange events offer valuable lessons about the interconnectedness of our world, the dangers of speculation, and the importance of sound economic policies. History is full of strange economic twists that shape the world we live in today. Which one surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more mind-blowing stories from history. And remember, the lessons of the past can prepare us for the future. So, the next time you hear someone say economics is dull, just remember these stories, because behind every graph and statistic lies a human story. Often stranger and more fascinating than we can imagine. Stay curious, stay informed, and we'll see you next time.